I need y'all to stop talking and start paying attention.
Yeah, basically last quizzes.
We should be able to do this without issue. So, find the value, that's what evaluate means. Find the value of the sine of 255. Now, you are going to want to find two angles that either add up or subtract to 255, right?
Yeah.
And I gave you a hint I used. If it ends in a 5, I'm going to use 45. So if I use 45, my other angle is 210. Now, you might say, ooh, 210, but remember, 210 degrees has a reference angle of 30.
Yep.
So it's usable. I can do that one, right? So I don't have to label it since I got it. This is 1, root 3, 2, and these would both be negative. Now, look at your reference. The formula for the sine of an angle plus an angle is sine of the first, cosine of the second, plus cosine of the first, sine of the second. That is straight off the reference sheet. You don't have to memorize it, but you got to be able to find it on the sheet and then use it. We know that the 45s are root 2 over 2. Then we look over here. The sine is negative 1/2, and the cosine is negative root 3 over 2. And then we multiply each piece. So this is negative root 2 minus root 6, all of the 4. Your common denominator is 4. Okay? Now you guys, this is practice. We have done it and done it and done it. They're all done this way. Break your angle up and then fill in the numbers. All right, number 2. These are all test questions. Number 2, find the sine of 2x. Well, let's just stop right there. Sine 2x, I got a formula for that. What's the formula for the sine of 2x?
2 sine x, cosine x.
2 sine x, cosine x. So I'm going to have 2 times the sine and cosine. Now, what do I know? I know that I am in quadrant 2. How do I know that? 90 to 180.
Yeah.
And I know that the cosine is negative 5/13. Right? Tells me in the problem.
So 12, that one's 12.
So I do my Pythagorean theorem, and that's going to be positive 12. 169 minus 25. So then, the sine is 12/13. The cosine, I actually knew that before, but I needed to run a picture anyway. So that's 2 over 1. So top times top times top is negative 120. And bottom times bottom times bottom is 160. There is your answer. Does anyone have a question about that?
Pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
If we can't do that,
I mean, if Melissa can do it.
Okay. Cosine 270 minus x. Now notice this one says simplify. It doesn't say evaluate. In other words, when you evaluate, you get a number. When you simplify, you just get whatever you get when you boil it all down. So you've got the cosine of an angle minus an angle.
Yep.
So that will be cosine that's u minus v or alpha minus beta, whatever I have there. So it's cosine of the first, cosine of the second, plus sine of the first, sine of the second. That is straight off the sheet.
These guys been studying. What's that what say you're studying from?
Now, where's 270?
Three.
270's down here,
Yeah.
right?
There we go.
So here I go. Cosine is 0, so this is 0.
So it cancels out.
And sine is
-1.
-1. And sure enough, 0 times anything is gone.
Negative side X.
And I'm left with negative sine x. Now I'm finding the tangent of x over 2. Now this is another one on your sheet that has different versions. Do you see that? On your sheet, there are different versions for the tangent.
Yeah.
Now, I would suggest that if you have a choice, you not do the one with the radical, because if you do the one with the radical, you are going to have to decide if it's positive or negative. If you do one of the others, then it just works out, right? So which one do you want to use? Tangent x over 2. Sine over
1 plus cos.
I don't have those memorized. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was growing up, we always had to use the radical ones, so that's the ones I memorized. Okay. Now, what do I know? I know that I am in which quadrant? 3. And I know that the tangent is opposite over adjacent, and that's 3 over 4. But why did I make them negative? It's in quadrant 3. So you have to be on the lookout for that. There's no negative in the problem, but they're both negative. All right, so now my formula says take the sine, which is
3.
sine
Negative 3
negative 3 fifths over 1 plus the
Negative 4
cosine,
fifths.
which is negative 4 fifths.
Don't apply everything by 5.
Yeah, you can, now at this point, it becomes an algebra problem. You do whatever you want to do. I'm going to times it all by 5. That's going to lose my denominator. So I have negative 3
Over 1.
over 5 minus 4. So the answer to the question is just negative 3.
Wow. We stick to
I know. I know. Okay, so we got that? All right, now go back to your review sheet. And I want to look at the back side. It says quick review. So the back of the review packet. The very back of the whole thing. The back says quick review. See it?
On it.
All right, here we go. These are some different kinds of problems. At least a couple of them. All right, so here we go.
this 4. What line do we have?
Last.
Oh,
That's bad.
Last.
Last.
All right.
No, what's that?
Guys, listen. Why are we reviewing today? Because I'm trying to help those of you who would like to improve your grade.
Whoa, show.
I need you to buy in, or we're gonna stop reviewing.
Yeah, take quiz.
All right, here we go.
Which one are we on? Last page, okay.
Last page, quick review.
All right, now notice the directions. We are going to solve in gradient, so our answer will be like pi over 6 or something, okay? But we gotta get there first. So take a look at the equation. There is something you have to deal with right now. And that is what?
The 2.
2x.
1 minus 2 squared.
So now we gotta replace that. And I'm gonna pick the same version you guys did. You said, hey, there's already a sign in the problem, so why don't I use 1 minus 2 sine squared? Right off the sheet. You can't, listen, we talked about this before, you can't do the problem if there's a 2x and a plain x. So get rid of the 2x. Use your formula. All right, now what are you gonna
Add
do?
the 2 sin x over here.
We're gonna get everything on one side. It doesn't matter which side, but I'm going that way, because I wanna have a 2 sine squared positive minus 3 sine plus 1.
Plus 1, yep, we need active factor.
Move everything to the left, or right, I mean, you can move everything to the left if you wish, it makes no difference.
You got a sign.
No!
Don't you factor, dude. It's a 1 out of sign. It's a 1 out of sign.
Can't take out a sign
1 out of sign.
unless everything has a sign, and that one doesn't. So, I have no choice but to factor. So I'm gonna have a 2 sine and a sine.
2 sin minus 1, sin x minus 1.
I need a minus 1 and a minus 1. I really don't have any choice there. And see how that's gonna give you a negative 3 there in the middle?
Yeah.
We factor. And then after we factor, we set them each equal to 0. So sine x equals a half, and sine x equals 1. Now let's do that. Here's my unit circle. Where does the sine, and sine is y, where does the sine
90.
equal 1?
90.
Right here, right?
Which is pi. Pi over 2.
Pi over 2. So this one is pi over 2. Now quit talking and let's let everybody digest that. I did that one first. Sine equals 1 right here. Sine is y. That's 90 degrees, which is pi over 2, half a pi. Now, where does the sine equal a half? I don't know, but I know y is positive in quadrant 1, in quadrant 2. That's where y is positive, and sine is y. Now, the opposite over hypotenuse is 1/2. This is a 30, but in radians it's pi over 6. This is a pi over 6. So my first angle is pi over 6.
Pi minus 5.
This one,
Oh my gosh.
Whose phone is that? Alright. Whose phone is that?
I know nobody's gonna admit to it.
Nobody's gonna admit to that.
Yeah, this is definitely
There's no chance. Whose phone is that? Tyler, might be you. No.
Whose phone is that?
That's garbage.
Well,
You.
Mr.
Not gonna lie, that's my dad.
Can I actually call him back? Because he never calls me. So I'm actually nervous.
Bro, I'm not admitting that.
I'm disappointed that you made Ronan take the hit for that when you should have.
you knew it was you.
You knew that was you.
You didn't call him out.
Alright.
Hey, Darby,
What did we decide the second angle was?
What happened?
It's 5 minus 5 or 6.
Five minus, so 1 minus the 6,
Dude,
5, 6, right? There we go.
Me neither. That's crazy. That's like the bad signal.
Number 2, we already did one, but we'll go ahead and do this quickly. What is your strategy with problem number 2?
Sin 300 plus 45.
That's a good one.
Sins in religion, let's say sign, but yeah, sign. So we have sign 345. And there are lots, hey, I should not have to be yelling. All right?
I got one. 390 minus 44.
I'm
390.
gonna do 300 plus 45 because I always do 45. You don't have to. You could do 210 and 135.
390
You
minus
could do
45.
lots of choices, but I'm just going this way. Okay, so what does my formula say? Is everything all right,
You
Joe?
didn't answer.
Oh.
There was a voicemail that said. Where's the voicemail? Yeah, it said there was a voicemail. I don't know.
Alright, it's not.
All right, what does our formula say? Sine 300 cosine 45 plus cosine 300 sine 45.
Root 2 over 2.
Yep, and now we're gonna plug in our numbers, but we already know the 45s are root 2 over 2.
Signs have to be.
And then 300, I'm gonna go ahead and draw 300, it's down here. That's 360, this is 300, so my reference angle is 60. So this is the root 3, the 1 and the 2, and that one's negative.
Root 3 over 2. Negative root 3
So
over
the
2.
sine is negative root 3 over 2, and the cosine is
1 over
1/2. So negative root 6 plus root 2 all over 4.
So if we don't get the same denominator for them, does that mean we did it wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've done a bunch of these, Ronan, and every single time it comes out looking like that.
So the difference between like when you said simplify
That's actually
compared to
What's that?
It feels
like I did something wrong. You know,
yeah,
like,
is
you know you're wrong. So obviously now,
Just come up with whatever
Because if it looks like that every night.
yeah, if you don't get that on the test, you know you're wrong. You might as well just read it. You know you're wrong. Might as well just give up. Wait. Might as well just put that down.
Number 3,
I got it. Can I do it?
we're going
Dana wants to do
to
it.
verify,
Joe, give me my water cup.
we're gonna verify this. Okay,
Switch the bottom ones.
so you will do this however you want, but remember, this is part of a test. So you're not gonna be able to sit there for 20 minutes like you did with your quiz the other day. You're gonna have to jump in, do something, and move on. So when I look at that, after all these years of doing this, I think I'm just gonna change everything into sines and cosines and see what happens. So, sine,
One over 1 over.
sine is sine, so I'm gonna just say sine over
sign over
1 over cos.
cos.
So it's sine over 1 times 1 over cosine,
Over sine over cosine.
sine over cosine,
Plus cos over sine.
plus cosine over sine. Now, something here that you might be, make a mistake with is, this is really, that's a times. So this is literally sine over cosine. This is only one term, because that's a multiply. This is 2 terms, because that is a plus. So I would put that together and make it sine over cosine. And then it's over this. All right, so what are you gonna do
Common
now?
denominator.
This mess. All right, so one option you have, and I think it's a good option, is multiply all three things by the common denominator, which this time is sine cosine. So I'm multiplying sine cosine, sine cosine, sine cosine. And the reason that we did that is so that that would cancel. So what do I have on top? Sine squared. And then this will cancel. So what do I have here? Sine squared. Plus, that will cancel, and I
You're going
have
really fast. Hold on.
cosine squared.
You have to change your cosine squared into 1 minus sine squared.
What's the denominator?
It's one.
Oh,
The
you're right.
denominator is 1.
You're right.
So it's just sine squared.
So what am I left with?
Sine squared.
Which is exact, oh, I didn't write it down, but that's exactly what I wanted to be left
Yeah.
with, right?
Yeah.
So,
This must be the day.
here is the moral of that story. When you sit there and get all freaked out, I don't know how to do this, then you won't, and you'll get an F. If you just do what you know how to do, chances are it'll all come out.
It's really not.
Why don't you just time it like the common denominator is sine and cosine? Why don't you just time everything by like sine or how you times everything by both?
Because you have to multiply the
Our
four.
sines and cosines.
You can't multiply one number by 4 and one number by 6 and one number by 5.
Well, if you know they're gonna cancel out,
Yeah, if you're gonna, if you know they're
You
gonna
have to do that
cancel out,
yourself.
then you can do that, but that,
It might
this
make it
is the
harder.
math that's actually happening.
I feel like there's pretty, more room for error if you do that.
It's in your head.
See it in front of you.
All right, number 4. Number 4. This is the section where you have to look at your formulas backwards. So, for problem A, what is 2 sine cosine?
It's sine 36.
It's sine 2x, right? So that's sine 2 times your angle, and your angle is 18, so it's sine 36. All right? Now, Joe, this was a disaster in your homework, so pay attention here. I look on my reference sheet for 2 sine, at least he did the homework. 2 sine cosine. That is the formula for the sine of twice the angle. The angle of my problem is 18,
Yes.
so it's the sine of 2 times 18. All right,
This Ford, why is he laughing so much?
because he's insecure.
Oh! I gotta close that down.
Thrives on the failure of others.
That's crazy.
I know the next one.
Sine,
40.
sine, cosine,
Sine U minus B.
minus cosine sine.
Sine 43.
43.
That is a formula for the sine of angle minus angle,
U minus.
and it's 53 minus 10,
Yes.
so it's the sine of 43. Honestly, you shouldn't ever miss these. You have the sheet.
It tells you what's.
Cosine, cosine, plus sine, sine.
U minus.
Cosine,
U.
angle minus,
Yeah. U minus. I mean.
so it's 100 minus 30,
Yeah.
it's the cosine of 7.
Next one's cos 102.
Stop.
Cosine squared minus, be careful,
Yeah.
cosine squared minus sine
So cos
squared
2 times.
is cosine twice the angle, and the angle is 51,
This should just be the whole
so
test.
it's the cosine of
Yeah, can I just be like tired of that?
102,
I'll be good.
okay?
They're gonna surpass us. They're already starting to surpass us. They're already starting to surpass us. It's them.
All right, now, I want you to go, we were just on the back of page 5, I want you to go back to the front of page 5. And we have done today every every kind, with our little review we've done every kind of problem. So this is your last chance to look at the sheet. And we'll practice one more. What are we going to practice?
4, 5E on test number 2.
Which one?
That's too easy.
We're on the review sheet, we're on page 5. Front of page 5.
Can we do 4E?
Which one?
4E.
4.
That's not a thing.
C.
Or, C, sorry.
I thought I did that yesterday.
Yeah, we did do that. It's
We
okay.
did do that yesterday.
Okay, yes, we did.
Well, that one's like 2 steps.
Yeah.
Because what is 1
Oh, yeah,
minus
it's
sine
cos
squared?
squared.
Cosine
yeah.
squared. So, yeah.
I'll give you 1 D.
1D. Didn't we do that yesterday too? Alright. Alright.
Which one are we doing?
1D. Alright, so I'm looking at problem 1.
Oh, no, we did, no, we did, no,
You
we
guys
did.
have to like.
We have. It's the sine squared and cosine squared equals 1.
One more chance.
4X.
4. Okay.
4A. Oh, these weird notes this is too.
Is that a plus sign or a minus sign?
You're good.
Alright. So, here we go. You're looking at the problem. It's a verify. I don't know what pops into your head, but the first thing that pops into mine is I need a common denominator in order to add these two fractions together.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and get a common denominator. This is not the only way to start, you guys. It's what I'm choosing to do because I don't have time to stand here and ponder it. So I know that I'm adding fractions, and when I add fractions, I get a common denominator. So my common denominator is secant squared minus 1. I FOIL yours. It's secant minus 1, secant plus 1. So I FOIL them. And then on top, I have secant plus 1 plus secant minus 1. Alright? So what have I got?
Or you can use a
I
different
can't do
square.
any canceling.
You do
Squared,
different squares
secant
on top.
squared on the top.
Different squares
It
on top.
wouldn't be secant squared
to
on
add
the
to the
top.
Secant X
It would be what on the top?
2 secant.
2 secant, yeah, because it's secant plus secant,
different squares
which
on top.
makes it,
It should be 2 secant, there was, right?
and these cancel. Now, I don't wanna factor that because that's gonna take me right back to where I was. But I do wanna look at that carefully. On your sheet, there is a formula, an identity, that involves secant squared. Which one, what does it say? It says 1 plus tangent squared is secant squared. Okay, now wait a minute. If I move this 1 over, doesn't that just equal tangent squared?
Yeah.
So now I have 2 secant over tangent squared. I'm keeping an eye on, this is where I'm headed,
It's a long problem.
Yeah, it is.
alright?
I haven't been thinking about this.
Now, at this point, I think I'm gonna change everything into sines and cosines, because I'm really not sure what I have.
But it ends
So I'm gonna have 2 over cosine, remember, that's 1 over cosine, over sine squared over cosine squared. Agreed? So I can either change, flip, or I can multiply everything by cosine squared. whatever way works for you, we're all gonna end up with 2 cosines over sine squared. That's what we're gonna end up with. 2 cosines over sine squared.
So do you change that 2 cosine to 1?
This one's kind of tricky because I need to end up with a cotangent squared, and I need to end up with a secant, which would be a cosine in the denominator. So what if I multiply top and bottom by cosine? Now, that kind of feels uncomfortable because you want to cancel, but don't cancel. Instead, think of it as 2 cosine squared over sine squared times cosine. What is this? Cosine squared over
Tangent,
squared.
tangent squared.
Cotangent.
2 tangents.
Cotangent squared. This is cotangent.
Dang it.
And what's 1 over cosine?
See,
So I got it. So this is 2 cotangent squared, that's cotangent squared, and this is 0. There might have been an easier way to do that problem. That was kind of tricky.
Wait, what'd you do for the second part? I got the
Well, I have a 1 over cosine. I have a cosine at the bottom. This makes cosine squared, so that went here. And then I still have a cosine in the bottom, and 1 over cosine is secant. All right, okay. All right, put that away and get your notes out. We're gonna do problem 1 of the law of sines. Let's take a look at our notes.
We're doing notes.
Yeah, that was our deal. And one thing about old Mrs. Ford, she keeps her word. All right. Back in chapter 4, I need everybody listening. I don't have time to deal with stuff. Need everybody listening. Back in chapter 4, we solved triangles. We're doing it again. Remember that solving a triangle means finding everything that is missing.
75
So
degrees.
certainly angle H is missing. And Jake has said angle H is a no-brainer. It's 75 degrees because the angles of a triangle have to add up to 180. So if you give me 2 angles, I'm going to know the third one, automatic. Now I have to find side C, and remember side C is across from angle C, and side H. We use capital letters for the angles, little letters for the sides, just like we did back in chapter 4. Now, in chapter 4, we used SOHCAHTOA. Remember when we had the eagle on the cliff looking down at the squirrel on the ground or whatever? We always did SOHCAHTOA because every one of our pictures, every one of our triangles was a right triangle. If you are going to use SOHCAHTOA, what's that H stand for? Hypotenuse. You gotta have a right triangle. If you don't have a right triangle, then you're not gonna use SOHCAHTOA. So the new tool that we have is called the law of sines. And I don't have time to derive it. It's easy to derive it. We can derive it, but I'm not going to. You're just gonna remember, this one you have to know. The law of sines, real easy. Sine of angle A over side A, that ratio equals the sine of angle B over side B. equals, you guessed it, the sine of angle C over side C. So in other words, the ratio, the fraction, the ratio of the sine of an angle and its corresponding side is always the same. That ratio is going to be the same for the whole triangle. So, if you look at what we've been given, see this right here?
Yeah.
So we're gonna say sine 45 over 3.7. And we'll set that equal to what? Sine, I heard sine 60 over C,
Yes.
but I heard somebody else say sine 75 over H. It doesn't matter, you gotta do both. You're gonna have to do both.
Okay.
So we got sine 45 over 3.7 equals sine 75 over H. So there are the two steps. We're going to solve these now, but that's going to give us C and H. Okay? So, how do you solve? This is called a proportion. How do you solve a proportion? Cross multiply. So I'll do the top one first. Doesn't matter. Sine, or C sine 45 equals 3.7 sine 60.
You'll plug that in.
Not yet. I'm
Wait,
solving for
divide by
C.
sine
So
45.
I'm gonna divide by sine 45.
Now you can
And this is what I'm gonna plug into my calculator. So make sure your calculator is in degrees. And then type 3.7 sine 60, close the parentheses, divided by sine 45. And for C, I got 4.532. What about you?
Yeah.
4.532?
Yeah.
And now we rinse and repeat for side H. So H sine 45 equals 3.7 sine 75. So H is gonna equal 3.7 sine 75 over sine 45. Somebody said something about a negative. You better not be getting negatives here. We're finding sides of a triangle, so we don't want any negatives. Make sure you're in degree mode. Make sure you're in degree mode. I got 5.054.
Yep.
And the triangle is solved. Okay?
Yay.
Triangle is solved. Now, I want you to do problem B. Notice I didn't draw the triangle. That's okay. Draw it yourself.
Is it, are we still following CHS or?
Well, yeah, I did give you a third letter, but yeah, so the third one's S. Keep in mind, it doesn't matter where you put your C, but wherever you put angle C, side C is across from it. That's how it works, right? The sides are lined up across from their angles. All right, so go ahead, see if you can get number 1B set up. law signs, and you have to do both of them. In the order you do them doesn't matter, it makes no difference. But what does matter is, you're using sine 30 over 10.8 for both of them. Because this is the given data, and it's not rounded off. So we don't wanna use, once I found this one first, I wouldn't wanna use sine 110 over 20.297, because that has been rounded. So use the given, always use the given if you can. There might be a problem down the road where we can't, but use the given if you can. All right, so I got 20.297 and 13.884, what about you?
I did.
Everybody good on that?
Yeah.
All right, just so you know, in the future, we will be having a quiz or a quest over 5.5 and 5.6, those two sections only. So 5.5 is law signs, 5.6 is law cosines, then we'll have another kind of big grade, but it'll be obviously in the fourth quarter. Okay? Got it? All right, tomorrow's test day. I would suggest you do some studying.
Do you get that graphical calculator for tomorrow?